You'll recall last time that we were looking at the London system for white after d4, d5. Now we're going to take a look at how black should respond to another unusual second move by white's queen's bishop, bishop g5. This is a move which a lot of players have tried to confuse black with in recent years, going back into a kind of position which resembles the Trompowsky, tying down black's e-pawn for one thing. It sets unusual problems very early in the game. Fortunately, black has a very reliable method available, which I'm going to show to you now, which diffuses white's entire idea. I've played this idea for white many times myself, and I can tell you I'm always frustrated when black plays h6 in this position. Bishop h4 is the mainline move, and now the key idea, c6. The main reason black plays this is to enable his queen to come out to b6 to put pressure on b2. Black also sets up a nice coherent Slav-like formation, and he's interested in moves like bishop f5 as well. So it's very easy for black to get all his pieces out to good squares in this variation, and white hasn't been able to prove any advantage against this easy plan for black. So I'm going to show you a game now from the Corsica Masters in 2000 between Sinitsa Dražić, Grandmaster, and Vishy Anand, playing with the black pieces. Many strong players have come this way with black, including Anand, Karpov. That speaks volumes for the excellence of black's reply to bishop g5. And in this game, Dražić played pawn up to e3, which is pretty solid. Just dropping back, white can also play knight f3 in this position, after which I think queen b6 is a good move. And already, this move is not so easy for white to meet. For instance, he doesn't really want to go playing queen c1. That is, of course, a good move defensively, but it doesn't really interrupt black's idea. Black just goes bishop f5 with a nice easy game. In general, black's plan in this position is just pawn up to e6, knight out to d7, and bishop to e7, neutralising the bishop on h4. Yes, white can keep equality in this position, but no more. And going back to queen b6, if white goes b3 here, then again bishop f5 is a good move. And just to show you the ease with which black gets developed and gets equality with this plan, let's take a look at e3, knight d7. What is white to play? Black's plan is e6 and bishop e7. If white goes bishop d3, black can even take this. White recaptures with the queen, and now black has two good moves. He can play e6 in this position, with the idea that if white castles bishop e7, this is easily equal. If white retreats, we just go knight gf6. Black has an excellent position. Well, just going back to queen takes d3, black can also try the sharp e5. This is a rather interesting variation, and takes direct note of the bishop on h4, so that if white takes, we go queen b4 check, and if c3 in this position, we've got the interesting move knight takes e5. So going back to queen b4 check, if knight bd2, again we go knight takes e5, takes, and now queen takes h4. This again I think is also quite nice for black. Something like this, e4 knight e7, takes, and again black has a nice equal position. So just to summarise, after c6, this easy plan of queen b6 and then bishop f5, I think diffuses the whole line. So in Dražić versus Anand, white went e3, and after that, white just got on with his plan. Black just got on with the plan by playing queen to b6, b3, and now e5. That's another nice little trick by black, always something to watch out for. Black takes note that if white takes this pawn, we go queen b4 check, winning the loose bishop on h4. So in practice, after e5, white's gone knight f3, and then went e4, knight fd2, and now the key idea, bishop e7. Gaining time on the unprotected bishop on h4. And you see, white's wasted a few moves with his bishop. Bishop g5, bishop h4. Well, if he takes on e7, he wastes even more time. And of course, black is perfectly equal after that. So white went bishop g3, and then went bishop e6, Dražić bishop e2, and now black just completed his development by getting his knight out and castling. So this really is a nice simple way for black against two bishop g5. and I can thoroughly recommend it. In the game Drazic versus Anand, Anand went on to outplay his opponent. And let's see how this is done. White is trying to prove this is a kind of superior French position. He's got his bishop outside the pawn chain. In some ways, it's like Caro-Kann reversed. Anand stepped out of the way. White went knight c3. And now Anand played bishop to d6. Bishop takes d6. Queen takes d6. Even though in this position White's got a kind of superior version of the Caro-Kann, it's very difficult to make anything of his position because his position is nice and coherent, but he doesn't have many opportunities for his major pieces. That's White's struggle in this position, to get his major pieces into the game. He could try and move like rook c1 in this position, with the idea of taking on d5 and then playing knight b5, but I think black can cut all the trouble out by just simply playing a6 and then knight bd7. It's a nice easy position for black, and probably black's plan in this position is to move this knight out of the way and then to go forward with f5 if allowed. Going back to the game then, White played rook b1, and the idea of that is that White wants to play c5 and then b4, getting some sort of queenside pawn charge going. Anand wasn't worried by that. He played knight bd7, and after a4 black played a5. Just dropping back, a bit of a surprise in this position that White doesn't get on with the plan here, playing a move like c5 and then b4. But in this position, you know, White isn't really threatening very much. Black can play b6. Black can even play knight h7, allowing White to execute his plan with the idea of going f5. So now a4 was played by White. Black played a5. White played c5. Black put his queen back on e7. Rook b2, and now black showed another string to his bow. He could even challenge White on the queen side. He could have done that in the other line, mind you. Black is going to play b6. So this move a4, this configuration of the queenside pawns, does not impress. White thinks he's still playing on the queen side by playing rook to c1, trying to gang up on this weak backward pawn at c6. Black shows that the pawn at b3 is equally vulnerable. White played bishop f1, and now here is the rub. This is the problem for White. Black has long-term chances on the king side in a position like this, and Anand confidently gains space with h5 and then h4. White hit c6, black defended c6. White went knight f4, and black retained his bishop for later action against White's king. And now seeing the move g5 coming up, with a substantial initiative on the king side, White went in for some tactics with rook c5. Of course, if black takes, White will take back with the pawn, forking the queen and the rook. So g5 was played. This is the move that was expected. Knight e2, and now Anand went on to full attack with knight f8, sacrificing the a pawn. White went queen c2 to get his queen back into the game, and also to attack c6. Black defended, and only now did White take. But in this position we're going to see that black's chances on the king side are not to be denied. Anand went in with knight g4. Well, what is White to play apart from g3? But of course, that move substantially weakens the king side. Queen f6, attacking f2. And what is White to do? Out of nowhere, black seems to have fashioned a king side attack. But I repeat, in this type of position, black has chances on the king side, and Anand has instructively shown how these might be developed. So White went in for the rather miserable knight takes e4. That's the only way he could see of protecting f2, by sacrificing a piece. But Anand now moved in for the kill. He took on g3, and then he went queen h6. Very nasty. After bishop g2, the only move really to avoid queen h2 and carnage, rook takes b3 was played, but of course White doesn't have enough for a piece here or anything like it. Rook takes g5 check, knight g6, easily covering bases, queen c5, queen h2 check, the final attack, and now the nice knight takes e3 check. That was a model demonstration, I think, of black's chances in this variation. So just going back to the start, to summarise, bishop g5 is a novel idea. It will be played against you occasionally, but I think h6 and then c6 is the way to meet it. Black plans queen b6, he plans bishop f5. There are tricks in the position with e5 when the queen's out on b6. But in general, Black's plan of queen b6, bishop f5, e6 and then bishop e7 is a very good one and entirely neutralises White's opening idea.